Alright, so we're doing a lowering link install today. I've never done this before, so we're gonna see how it goes. In theory, it should be easy because there's only like 2 bolts that hold it on, I'm pretty sure, but everything's an ordeal, so see how it goes. Trying to put as much light on it as I can, but yeah. Anyway, so it's a 17 mil on the back side with the nut, and then the other side is a 14 mil. So I'm gonna take that off. Here. Alright, back to it. I feel like she was listening to the Tokyo Drift, or I don't know if it's Tokyo Drift, but the Fast and Furious soundtrack. But I technically don't know that. They're pretty good. Leverage on it. I was gonna try not to use breaker bars on this because I just wanted to see if it was possible, but it's rapidly not. Oh, sick. Yeah, so I can't get it on there from this side because this peg, or the thing for the kickstand's in the way. Sweet. My long boy extension. Yeah. So if you're wondering, that one's on there pretty good. So you might have to use a breaker bar on that one. Once you break it loose, it's fine. I'll say if you use enough extensions, and you might be able to, you could take this off technically, but I just didn't want to. It wasn't super easy, and I don't really want to mess with anything I don't have to. So start taking random stuff apart and then it not go back on right or something. Especially the rear brake stuff. I'd like my rear brake to work, so I'm gonna leave it alone. That return spring. Okay, so the top one on that side, it's got a washer on it. So I need to remember to put that washer back. But the back one did not have a washer, so it will not have a washer when it goes back together. So, yeah. Try and take some weight off of that. I'm just using my foot to kind of prop it up a little bit. It's pretty, I don't know if you can tell how much it's bouncing, but it doesn't have any pressure on it at all. So it's just moving out of the way, no big deal. So there's just this bolt. So far the back one is just this nut and this bolt. So I'm gonna throw that back on just to be safe. Maybe I should have taken that spring off. That's kind of annoying. Okay. All right, so the front one is that bolt, has a washer on the other side, and then this nut. So most of the time when I'm working on stuff, then I try to put it back together just in case, which I'm videoing this, which might not be a bad idea, honestly. This one's not gonna be too complicated, but some of the other stuff, even if you're not planning on like posting it online or anything, then you can video it, and then you can just watch the video back in case you end up not putting it back the way it was supposed to be. So you'll for sure end up doing it correctly. So this one's a new link. Devol, I guess is what the, so allegedly it's gonna lower it 1.25 inches. So that was the most that I could find, really, which to be fair, I don't know if you'd want to get too carried away on lowering it like a ton, because then it's probably going to screw up the suspension geometry like real bad, potentially. But so it says that we're going to reuse this. So this will end up going in here. That's odd. Yeah, I don't see that anywhere. So it said something about installing these, I guess these are the pins. I don't know if you can even see that. But it was just like down in the middle of that, weird. So I couldn't slide this through, which on the factory one, it does not have any pins. I don't know if you're even able to see that, but that does not have one. So don't really know why those pins are in there. I don't know if this may be for like multiple different applications, so maybe that's part of what it is. But anyway, so I'm gonna put some this is just extreme pressure, multi-duty, complex, high temp grease. So pretty much just standard grease. High temp probably is good, but I don't know how hot that will get per se, so normal people grease, if they exist, then it might be okay. But I'm just gonna grease this up. Pretty much any metal stuff, metal on metal stuff, then you probably want to grease it or it can end up binding. Like if you're taking your axle bolts out, then you want to re-grease them because all the metal on metal stuff will end up grinding them down. So just put a little bit of grease on it. Probably can't put too much, honestly. So do that. Got a whole lot of grease on the outside. It's all over my hands. Not ideal, probably, but. Let's get it up in there. And my bolt. Again, might have been easy to take that spring off, which I didn't do. So I'll just deal with it. Okay. And again, the ball goes through the side. You want the nut, or the washer on the other side, and then you'll put the nut over it. And I'll loosely tighten it up. And then the lower one, just the bolt. Go on there. This is gonna be quite a bit higher than what it was before, because that's what lowers it, raises that up, so then this is higher. They say not to aggressively jump or yeah, mainly aggressively jump these. I wouldn't think that it would be worse than your factory link. So I would say if you're jumping with whatever it is, it'll probably be fine. Which, if it's a 250L, you probably shouldn't be jumping it anyway because they have pretty not good suspension on them, honestly. So jumping probably is not a good idea. Or baby jump, not like full-blown motocross bananas jumps, but I'm not sure what the torque spec is, honestly. I probably should have looked that up before, but I'll probably just do tight with my hand, and I don't use Ugga Duggas, so it's gonna be tight. Okay, so that's it installed. It's just that bolt and that bolt, and it just raised up that back wheel pivot point. So there's the nuts. Hopefully you can actually see that. And then the other nut is up here. So I may go back later and take this nut back off and then Loctite it, because a suspension thing that's going up and down a lot, then it might not be a bad idea to have some Loctite on it, because it's gonna cycle through a lot. But for right now, I'm just gonna make sure it actually works and doesn't mess up the handling too much. I'm probably not gonna try and lower the front. They were saying that you can move this up, like loosen up these clamps and move it, but I honestly really don't want to touch it. So I think 1.25 inches probably is not gonna affect it too much in theory. So we may just send it and see how it is. If it starts being kind of wonky, then I may try and mess with it, but I need to do a little bit more research on that. I've never messed with the front suspension or any kind of suspension on a motorcycle, honestly, and this one doesn't have any adjustments. It's the most basic so there's no adjustments on anything. It's a super cheap bike, or cheap-ish bike. So anyway, probably gonna take it for a ride and see how it is. And yeah, pretty easy install. Literally 2 bolts. Just have some grease to put on the little sleeve and reuse that sleeve. Be sure you put that sleeve in there. And it says on the paperwork to put the sleeve in. I don't really know what those one pieces were. I don't know if they're used on like other Hondas or if this is more of a generic like link kit, but those were not in my suspension that I could tell. So hopefully I wasn't supposed to put those in, but pretty sure I'm not. So yep, we'll see how it goes. So on a side note, these bikes are pretty heavy. It's like 310 pounds. So putting it up on a stand like this kind of sucks. So yeah, the way I normally do it then is grab the frame, and then there's not a real good place to grab back here. It's kind of just like plasticky underhang. I had a rack on here, like a metal rack, and that was really nice because you could just grab a hold of the metal rack and pull it up, which I took it off, so I can't do that, but just grab it and then you'll kind of just lean it off of there and try and pick it up. But it kind of sucks because it's pretty heavy, but so first impressions, this lighting is probably pretty terrible, but it's definitely lower. So now with all my weight off of it, but I'm still on the seat, but my weight's off of it, I can flat foot it pretty easy. Like I'm fully flat footed right now. So I don't know if you're really gonna be able to tell that much on camera how much lower it is, but it's definitely lower. And I think I may end up putting the factory seat back on and see if that's a little lower too, because there's quite a bit of cushion right here. So that's probably not helping. If it was just me riding it, then I would just leave it. And honestly, if it was just me riding it, I wouldn't have lowered it. So if you're 6 feet tall, then odds are you probably don't need to do this because you're plenty tall enough to not have to do this. But if you're under 6 feet tall, especially my wife's 5'6", then she has a rough time. Like if you're tippy toeing when you're first starting out, because she's just getting into riding dirt bikes, like she rides hers, but it's only like a 30-inch seat height. So when you can flat foot everything and it's no big deal, like touching the ground is not an issue, then it builds your confidence way more. Because if you can't touch and you're trying, especially this weighs like 310 pounds. Her bike only weighs like 192, so it's not that bad. But yeah, this one at 310 pounds, and it's tall, so it's super top heavy, and it's not super fun for her. So yeah, like literally fell down earlier. So yeah, so it's coming in maybe like a little under 35 inches right now without any weight on it. So yeah, about an inch and a quarter, which is what it said that it would do. So I think I'm gonna switch this seat out for the stock one and then see if that's any better and go from there. But I'd say I haven't even rode it yet, but just from the actual lowering of it, that should be a lot better, because just being like that bit closer to the ground, then it should help. And there's not, you can buy other bikes that are lower, but I already have this bike, so I'm not gonna buy another bike yet until, if she wants to get another bike, then we can get another bike, because I'm all for buy more motorcycles, as most people are. But as of right now, just starting out, she's just starting out on a 250. And this one only makes like 20 horsepower, a little over 20 horsepower. So it's basic 250, not like 250 motocross bike. But for a basic beginner bike, then this should be pretty good. So hopefully it'll be low enough to where she'll be more confident in it, because yeah, literally fell down earlier in the driveway because she couldn't touch, so that sucked really bad, and I didn't think that was going to happen, or I wouldn't have had her get on the bike. But now that it's lowered, hopefully it'll be better. So, side note, if you're swapping these seats out, then it's just a 6mm Allen wrench, and there's only 2 bolts on this backside, so it's super easy to switch these back and forth. So even if at some point I wanted to ride it on the street again, and I wanted my comfort seat for my tukis, then I'll just swap it back out. It's super easy to swap it in and out. It's like literally 2 bolts and you get it switched. Yeah, so you just pull it off. It's hard to tell if that's any taller or not. Looks like it might be a little taller. It's mainly not as wide, so we'll see. I'll swap it out. It's super easy to swap it out, so I'm gonna put this one on and see if that helps too. And this just slides up. There's a thing, it slides up in there. It's not wanting to do. And then just make sure it's, pull up on it and make sure it's flipped up. But it just goes back down.